We've had 5 years of the ANZ Championship and crowned 5 different winners. The Waikato Bay of Plenty Magic becoming the first team from New Zealand to take home the title after they staged a dramatic comeback to knock off the Melbourne Vixens in a thrilling grand final showdown. As I say hello and welcome to our final edition of Centre Pass for 2012, the official video podcast of the ANZ Championship. Dan Ryan here alongside Sharelle McMahon. And Sharelle, what a great grand final for the Magic. Really a victory against all odds.
It really was. I mean, you look at their season that began with 4 losses, sitting on the bottom of the ladder, holding everyone else up, and you know, they have won their last 12 matches of the season, I think it was, going through. And look, they were just building and building. We spoke about it week after week about how their combinations were getting better, their big stars were starting to stand up, and that's what happened in the final. Yeah,
it was a cracking match. Here is the result from the 2012 Grand Final. An absolute thriller at Hisense Arena. It was the Magic 41 defeating the Melbourne Vixens 38 by 3 goals. Sharelle, it was such an historic win for the Magic. The first team from New Zealand to win, the first team to come from 3rd or 4th to win, and then the first team to win a Grand Final away from home. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, there's a lot of firsts there, isn't it? And, you know, if any team was going to do it, it was going to be the Magic. And I think in the lead up to this final series, I'm sure a lot of people, a lot of the teams are thinking, oh, if the Magic get there, they could be very, very dangerous. And, you know, they are the ones, that the first New Zealand team, and that's a great story for them over there. Great story for the competition too, as much as I would have loved the Vixens to win, of course, putting my Vixens hat on. But, you know, for the competition, it's great that we've had a New Zealand win, and such a great contest for this grand final too. It was so tight, the whole game.
Yeah, probably the best grand final we've had since the 5 years of the ANZ Champ. So it was an absolute beauty. It was such a defensive game. The first quarter score was only 8-7 in favour of the Melbourne Vixens. But at the halfway mark of that quarter, only a couple of goals had been scored. It was turnover central, but the pressure defensively was enormous.
It was. I looked at the clock when there was 9 minutes to go or so, and I think the score was still 2-1. It was quite unbelievable, really, you know, how nervous all the players really looked and how much pressure was going on in those two defensive ends. And in the lead into the game again, we did speak about that. We spoke about these two defensive lineups being incredibly tough for both teams, really. So it was not surprising that it was tough to score.
The Vixens had their noses in front at quarter time. Also at half time, they held a 1-goal lead. Then they pushed it out a bit in the third quarter to lead by 3 going into the final change. But that fourth quarter, momentum just swung back and forward so often.
It did. It was incredible. And certainly at times, I thought the Vixens had it. I thought they'd really, you know, pushed that lead out enough. They had an opportunity to kind of, you know, go one more ahead that just drew that gap a little bit further. But then again, we saw the brilliance of their defensive pressure all over the court and some amazing turnovers and intercepts when it was crucial.
Yeah, a key moment in the game, probably halfway through that final quarter, a cross-court ball that went into the hands of Casey Williams, absolutely outstanding coming out, taking a great intercept. And from there, the tide just turned in the favour of the Magic. They got their tails up. They started to find Van Dijk a little bit more easy, and from there it was hard pegging for the Vixens to get it back.
It was. I actually thought that Laura Langman came into that game in the last quarter. I thought at times she was really hesitant to let the ball go into Irene Van Dijk, who had some beautiful holds and space on Jiva Mentor, but you know, they weren't confident to put that ball in. But in the last quarter, they just somehow found that confidence and put it in. And Juliana Naupu was nailing some long
Beauties.
bombs. They were so great under enormous pressure, as we said, from that Vixens lineup. But you know, they when it counted, their players all really stood up and did the job.
Yeah, the big game players certainly coming out to play and deliver for the Magic. In the wash-up, Sharelle, obviously a 3-goal win to the Magic in that final. They won that fourth quarter 13 goals to 7. Looking back overall at the game, the Vixens had 5 more attempts to post. They shot at 69%, the Magic at 82%, but probably the most telling statistic of the game was that rebound stat. The Magic 16 rebounds, the Vixens only 8. That was the story in the end of the day.
Yeah, it was. Look, and as we've mentioned, the game was so tight the whole time. There was nerves, the different, you know, Vixens are on top at sometimes, Magic were on top at others, but really that rebound stat, so the Vixens, unfortunately, their shooting stats were a little down, I'm sure, on what they would like, and the Magic defenders made them pay every time almost they got that rebound and gave their attackers another opportunity. So really, Tegan and Howarth, we spoke about their inexperience against the experience of the Magic defence, and perhaps that experience that Liana De Bruin and Casey Williams had in the end really did make a difference in those tight minutes at the end of the game.
Speaking of De Bruin and Williams, their statistics for the game were outstanding. Williams, 7 rebounds, 3 intercepts, 3 deflections. Liana De Bruin, 6 rebounds, 2 intercepts, 4 deflections. As a pair, they were on everything. And we went into the game thinking the match would be won and lost between how those experienced players go against the inexperienced. And in the end, it really was for the Magic, De Bruin and Williams, that really got the job done for them down back.
Yeah, I think that's very true. Look, I mean, there's so many great contests all over the court. We spoke a bit about the mid-court contests that were happening in the game as well, and they were really interesting. We had some changes for the Vixens at different times in that mid-court and trying to change things up a little bit, but just all over the court, great contest. But I do think kind of that experience might have just got them there in the end.
Well, it was an absolute thriller, one of the best grand finals we've seen in the ANZ Championship. Sharelle, who was your performer of the grand final?
Well, my performer of the grand final, and she was named as player of the grand final too, which was a great job for the 34-year-old Liana De Bruin. She, as we mentioned her stats, she was all over everything and really did put some doubt into the goalers' minds in those crucial stages. Yeah, deserving winner of the player of the grand final, Liana De Bruin. My player of the performer of the week, should I say, Sharelle, goes to the coach of the Magic, Nolene Taurua. Now, she's a coach that's been with the Magic from the very start of the competition in 2008. Her team has been criticised year after year of underperforming. Should have won the title maybe many years ago, but what a job from her to get her team from dead last all the way to the title, a 12-game winning streak, and absolutely deserving of the title, Nolene Taurua as the head coach. Yeah, definitely. Look, great performer of the week. Good one, Dan, because as you said, their losses were only by very, very small margins at the start of the year. So they really have had a very solid year, even though they kind of got themselves into some trouble at the start of the season. But great coaching to keep their minds on it and work through it. Very animated too on the sidelines, Nolene Taurua, up on her feet, chanting and cheering. She's great to watch. Now, Sharelle, we've been doing a tipping competition all year. I backed the Magic to win the grand final. You didn't, of course. No, you went for the Vixens. That means that we are all tied up at 47 all after the home and away season and the final series. Couldn't get any closer. No, that's all right. The only way to solve this, Sharelle, I think, is a game of rock, paper, scissors. The winner will take home the tipping competition. The only fair way to decide. The only fair way. You ready to go? Yeah. Right, let's do it. Oh, no. Oh, he's done it. He's done it. Sharelle, congratulations. Oh, yes. What a great competition. Just as the ANZ Championship trophy was up for grabs, also some ANZ Championship individual awards were on the line as well. Now, Sharelle, we're going to talk about the most valuable player for 2012. We'll first take you through the nominees, of course, for this season. They were Laura Langman from the Magic, Susan Prattley from the New South Wales Swifts, Madison Brown from the Vixens, Caitlin Thwaites from the Central Pulse, Irene Van Dyke from the Magic, and Temepara George from the Northern Mystics. Now, Sharelle, this winner has normally been dominated by goalers and defenders. It's an award that's voted on by a panel of netball experts on a 3-2-1 basis, and our winner for 2012, joint winners again, it was Laura Langman and Temepara George. So two very deserving mid-quarters, the first mid-quarters to take home the award. Yeah, which is great to see the mid-quarters getting recognised for the work they do, certainly, and very fitting winners too. They've had very, very solid seasons. I thought Madison Brown was another mid-quarter in the mix as being nominated for this award, who might have just got up there. She had some very good stats with assists and centre pass receives and that kind of thing. So, there's some great centre quarters in there, but very well deserved from those two players. Another award is the Best Young Player and, of course, the All-Star Team. Those two awards will be announced during the week this week, so make sure you stay tuned to the ANZ Champs website to check out those award winners. Now, Sharelle, we thought we might do our own All-Star Team. I did mine a couple of weeks ago after the home and away season. I know you've done yours too, and you were very angry at me because it took you a long time and stressed you out. Who have you come up with as your starting 7 as your best performers in each position? Well, I found this extremely hard because there were so many great performances and great players throughout the season, but this is who I've come up with in the end. Goal shooter, Irene Van Dyke. Goal attack, Natalie Medhurst. Wing attack, Madison Brown. Centre, Natalie Vomberto. Wing defence, Julie Coletto. Goal defence, Casey Williams. And goalkeeper, Jiva Mentor. Now, I know because you were having a trouble with it, I'll let you have some notable mentions, Sharelle. So take us through your notable mentions. Who are your notable mentions in the goaling end? Yes, and I've got more notable mentions than I do people in the team, but bear with me. My goalers were Maria Tutayer, Catherine Latu, and Susan Prattley. So those three players, I mean, we've had a number of 100% shooting games from Kath Latu, and even Susan Prattley was up there doing that. And I just think Maria Tutayer on her game can really turn things. But I've kind of tried to base it on players who are really turning a game and bringing success to their team. So that's kind of what I've based it on.
What about through your mid-court and back line?
Okay, mid-court, Renee Hallinan, Temepara George and Laura Langman. Thank goodness I've got those in because they won the MVP of the season, so they only just missed out. And my defender, Shani Layton, hasn't she just had an amazing season back there with the Thunderbirds? Laura Geitz and Katrina Grant. I mean, it was so tight. I could have easily had any of those girls in there and be very happy with my team.
Well, I put my team together, Sharelle, and I've got only one person that you have in your team. So it's either an indication that we're both completely off the planet in terms of what we think is good and what's not, or it's an indication of how good this season was. This is my all-star team. At goal shooter, it is Susan Prattley, Donna Wilkins from the Steel at goal attack, Maddie Brown, just like you, Sharelle, at wing attack, Laura Langman in centre, Renee Hallinan, wing defence, Rebecca Bully, goal defence, and Katrina Grant in goalkeeper. So very different to you. My notable mentions go to the goalers, Irene Van Dyke, after the final, so hard to keep her out in hindsight. Erin Bell, Caitlin Thwaites for the pulse, I thought was outstanding. In the centre court, Natalie Von Berto and Temepara George. And then the defence line, same thing as Van Dyke. Casey Williams, Liana De Brain. How do you leave those two out? But I did. Sorry, guys. Jiva Mentor and Shani Layton. So probably, Sharelle, an indication of just how many big-time performers there were in the league this year.
I think that is what it is, an indication of. Not that we're completely mad, but I think it was just so hard to decide who and what criteria you're using to put them in. It was incredibly tough, but I would love to see those two teams playing against each other. That could almost happen. There's only one the same.
Well, that is it for Centre Pass for 2012. Thank you very much for joining us. Sharelle, what a season we've had. If you can give us your highlight for the year, what would it be?
Well, I think there's been so many highlights through this season that it's a little hard to pick one, but I think just the season itself was a highlight. The way, we had the top team losing to the bottom team sometimes, and it was so unpredictable. We didn't have the top four settled until the very last game of the season. So, look, for me, it was just that, evenness across the competition that was my highlight.
It's been absolutely fantastic. Sharelle, you've been a brilliant co-host. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And a big couple of weeks coming up for you. So good luck for the birth of your first child, and we hope it all goes well.
Thanks very much.
And we look forward to seeing you back on court hopefully next year. Well, that is it for Centre Pass. Thank you very much for joining us. 2012 has been a beauty. The Magic are the champions. We can now start counting down for season 2013. We'll catch you next time on Centre Pass. Goodbye for now. Thank you to our sponsors, our principal sponsor,
Associate sponsors,
support sponsors and suppliers,
and our broadcast partners.